But the Wanjiko in Radia, who needs to go to hospital, whose son or daughter has been admitted to university or TVET, who has all these needs to meet, where are they? Where's their plight?
Now, the two things. One is that when we think about democracy, it's actually people-centered. It's supposed to be centered on the individual, the voter. That's why we invest about $25 to protect the sanctity of the vote, including its secrecy and all that. But unfortunately, the moment we vote, the next day, we don't count votes, we count tribes. And we begin to talk about our election was stolen. Not my vote was stolen, our election was stolen. And therefore we have imbibed that ethos of, feudal lordship, that, the chiefs, and we now begin to defend our chiefs. And that's the debate that's running through this impeachment. It's unmistakable. You can see it. Because if you go to where I come from, Muranga, and talk anything bad about Gachagua, or try to be objective, this and this, you must just tell people the good things they want to hear, that Gachagua is going to survive this impeachment. Don't tell them anything else, because they are very angry.
What are they angry about exactly?
No, don't ask me. Don't ask me. It's just like our landlord. Our landlord is...
So what we're saying is that the landlord should not be taken through such a process.
Because you identify with that his pride is your pride. His tragedy is your tragedy. We have not started interrogating the validity of the impeachment. We are talking about the culture of politics that is shaping our minds and our psychology as a nation. We no longer think objectively, not even about our interests.
What I find interesting is because the community I come from are the ones who have been blamed for having that particular tunnel vision with regard to supporting Raila Odinga.
Now, you like Proverbs. He will tell you about Proverbs from his land. There's a tree called Mukondo. Mukondo.
It's a tree.
It's a tree.
Yes. What is it known for?
It has this bad habit of cracking and sending its backs off. Like it's unclothing,
Yes.
So they say if you befriend Mukondo and is working with it all the time, you'll start condocaring.
Yes.
You'll also begin shedding off your bags. So don't blame us.
Oh, no.
Don't blame us because...
I am not in the realm of blame. In fact, I am a proponent of this view that what you're discussing is perfectly normal and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. That is the point.
Yes.
That's where I am coming from.
Yes, I hear you.
And I'm saying that when people talk of leadership at a national level, how will people trust you with leadership at a national level when you do not have the support of leadership at your own backyard?
I remember the pain of one of our political leaders, I will not mention names, when people sat at a gazebo. I was private, because those days I was in those business. And they asked, what are you bringing onto the table? Because you've got to bring onto the table two things. One is money, the other one is numbers. So, unfortunately for
Which
our...
of these two?
Unfortunately for our friend, he wanted the seat of a deputy president.
And he had neither.
And he could not match the
He
two.
didn't have the numbers, he didn't have the money.
He didn't have the numbers, he didn't have the money. Therefore, he literally went into opposition, and that's how CORD was formed. All right? Because, and you can imagine the anger that you have, that you thought that the values of your country is not, what you are bringing onto the table is your patriotism, the service to your country, what you have done to your people, and so on. It is not what you have in your pocket, or the number of people you have managed to buy out who will come here. That culture of politics is what now you see being paraded here. I said somewhere last night, I think the same station, that this is a joint business. They're calling it now the joint venture. Yeah, it's a joint venture between UDA and ODM. And between them and their numbers, Gachagua's goose is cooked.
That's the sort of thing people don't want to hear about.
No, you'll say that. You have got to say it. Because before the formation of the broad-based government, in July, nobody would have thought of impeaching Gachagua.
Prof, is this not what the ill-timed BBI and the Uhuru push for it, and the thought and thinking around a parliamentary system, and the push for constituency, is this not what perhaps Uhuru was looking at and seeing?
No, Uhuru himself was in a corner. This is what Kenyans don't want to tell you, because we become habitual liars. By February 2018, the rancor between Uhuru and his deputy was visible, and unfortunately, his deputy had amassed all the numbers. He had all the parliamentarians from Mount Kenya. He had all the parliamentarians from the Rift Valley. What he needed was Raila Odinga to tip the balance, and Uhuru would have gone home as a one-term president, elected and kicked out, impeached. But Uhuru was faster, so he went very quickly to Raila and said, brother, let's talk, brother. We're going to
the brothers talk.
Brothers talk, and they talk like brothers. And Raila understood. That was BPI was about. It was not about all these, flowery dreams you were telling me about this, doing this. It was about survival, because he would have been the first president to be impeached. And it didn't take long before he was impeached, quote unquote, because he was wiped clean from Mount Kenya, and Ruto swept the board.
And where are we now?
Where?
Well, you said he was wiped clean.
Because
where are we now? Has he remained wiped clean?
No, that's how it is, because he's out of politics, he's out of game, yeah.
True.
Yeah.
True. If it is indeed out of politics, why then, in an interview that Gachagua had, did he then say that actually, the leader of the Murima is still Uhuru Kenyatta, a man who you say is out of politics?
You must understand the Kikuyu culture of politics.
I actually don't understand it.
Yes, understand it. We have two kinds of leaders.
Yes.
And there's one leadership you will not take away from Uhuru Kenyatta. We have what we call Mudhamaki.
What does that mean?
Mudhamaki means the titular. All cultures have that. You have the king, and you have the prime minister. Now, in our culture, which was not as more developed as the Victorian system, Mudhamaki simply means the man who has the moral power, and he's respected across ranges. And then there is now Mutongoria,
the doer,
the one who is now having the mudhegi, the one, when you have that staff, you are now reigning. In other words, you are moderating and coordinating the day-to-day business of the functioning. But Mudhamaki is called when things are not adding up, and he comes and now preside. And when he comes, you, as the local leader, you put your mudhegi down, the staff.
Uhuru is
Uhuru is the Mudhamaki. And I don't think we have had that. We get another one. The problem
is that how you treat your supreme leaders like that?
He's not assuming it.
Yes.
Yeah. Even Kibaki, what we have had in the last 20 years is where the two conflict. Kibaki was at once Mudhamaki and Mutongoria at the same time. Uhuru was Mudhamaki and the leader. We've never had it separated. In the in the early years, it will be separated. I think this is complex, unless you want to understand culture. So Gachagua was saying, I am the one sitting on the Tongoria. Uhuru is the Mudhamaki. In other words, he can call us to order when things are not adding up. And this is the concept we wanted to build into the Constitution. It's not working very well, but we wanted to build it into the Constitution. That's what we created, the post-presidency. And put it into the Constitution as a law, that when the president retires, this is what he's supposed to do. And he's the one who is called upon if the country go berserk, and we have two ex-presidents, they sit. You saw it in America when Al Gore and George Bush, fought over the vote. You saw Jimmy Carter, across the parties, Republicans, Democrats, ex-presidents or former presidents. they come together and call the country to order. That's what we have in Tanzania. That's why Tanzania is one of the stablest African countries, because you can call the former president to lead the riot act to the politicians of the day.
Tanzania, it's possible because they all belong to one party, and the president, former or not, still has some say in what happens within the party. I'm agreeing with you. I'm just adding an addendum to what you're saying. Yes, their system is slightly different from the American one, though you're right, because the Americans also have strong parties, and the parties have a say in very many things.
Begin to imagine, my brother, if Uhuru did not become partisan and backed Raila, that he remained as neutral.
If you had gone into that election neutral.
That neutral and very impartial. Today, people would be telling you, talk to Uhuru. He might get Ruto and Gachagua talking so that we don't get into this drama. But now he went straight into one side and basically minimized the moral power of the post-presidency as an institution. But that's not what we wanted to discuss, but you were asking me about Gachagua and his saying.
It's an interesting addendum to what we're saying.
Yes.
Simply because when we look at how it is we coalesce around tribal leaders,
yes,
there is logic behind it.
Yes.
That is exactly what you have explained.
Yes.
We may not understand it, but there is logic behind it.
I am sure you have it in Ruran, the Ruth or something like that, the real guy.
It starts off, actually, the concept is thorn.
Thorn, yeah.
Yes, somebody who doesn't buck, doesn't bend, is not afraid. Somebody who's able to take on things. Now, Raila has epitomized that for an extremely long time. Yes.
Yeah. That's a point.
That is someone who will be followed.
Yeah.
Because people say that this guy is fearless.
Yes.
So that's the Thorn.
Yeah,
Yes,
this
Thorn,
Thorn.
yes.
That
And
guy,
who's the
this guy is
Ruth?
thinking far.
Huh?
Who's the Ruth?
Ruoth is a lord, a king.
The king,
Yes.
On
But
top.
yes.
So no, Ruth is the Mudamaki.
Yes.
Ruoth is a Mudamaki, but in our system, if you look at the Thorn, with the time that Thorn becomes a Ruoth.
Yes. The Thorn becomes the Ruth.
When they start now merging and they become
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Uhuru and Kibaki.
Meaning he's a doer, plus he's the person people go to when they wish to have matters sorted. He's the one who brings people together. And I think if you look at other communities, you will find they have similar systems.
Yes,
They may not follow this.
The Kalenjin have the Orkoyot.
Yes, they do.
Now the Raibon.
Yes.
And it's the thing.
The only thing is, when you look at the so-called pastoral communities, you will find that the elders still have the big say.
Yeah.
You will have a supreme leader, but that supreme leader has to listen to the elders because people still follow what the elders do.
It's the Sultan among the Somalis.
Yes.
I mean, you look, it's an old man. He doesn't look like he's worth attention.
But
and then you are told this is the guy who calls the shot. He's the one who presided over the elections of Mandera,
yes.
where the governors and the senators and the positions were shared.
Yes.
This is the Sultan.
You see why this discussion is important for me is because every time we mention tribe, from a Western perspective, it's the most negative thing you can think about. And that is a misnomer. Yeah. That is actually not true.
It's not true. You're right.
I want to come back to that question I asked. So although this drama is playing out, as the landlords are going to the gambling house and they are gambling, whatever they are gambling at the table, and insulting one another, those people in the farm whose chicken are laying eggs, and the eggs have to be taken to the landlord, whose cows they are milking, and the milk must be taken to the landlord, right? And they are still sleeping out there in the cold. What's their fate?
The good thing is that we have a system whereby in this feudal system, kind of quasi-feudal system, the landlord doesn't have to come for the eggs because there is taxation system. So you'll tax people and then use the money for whatever you want to use it for. That's the taxation system takes care of the brutality of the feudal system. So the attraction, therefore, is how do you win the hearts and minds of these people for the moment that you are gathering? So the hour of gathering is when you need these citizens. And that is coming, 10th of August, 2027. You'll be part of those who be deciding the gabo. Yeah, you'll be given some modern symbols of power, which is the vote.
But the point is that the condition for this guy who's a farm worker, their condition is not going to improve.
Yeah.
Yes, they are being taxed by giving 1 out of every 3 eggs
Yes.
to go to the landlord
Uh-huh.
and everything, so that the landlord then uses that to bring services back closer.
Yeah.
To help this person now stop living in a mud house and start living in a better house so that it doesn't rain. And so that their children can have clothing. When it's winter, they are able to clothe themselves and get warm. But it's not happening.
Yeah, and that's a tragedy, because the day when you are supposed to make the right decision, we are not making the right decisions. We discovered that why, cash is our cash crop, where I come from, is because we had a kind of leadership that really thought about not themselves, not their own accumulation at that time, but thought about their people. What's the difference between, for example, Muranga, in that Hire County, and the rest, to the point that we are told by 1970s, Muranga would loan other counties, those times, districts, money. It was because the leadership was exemplary. They come to Nairobi, they organize people into groups, and you buy things from Asians and all. So you find much of the lower part of Nairobi for a long, long time belonged to one people, because that's what the leadership were doing. Then Kamodo comes and find, what can I do different from the other one build a business, so what can I do for the others? Today, Muranga has the largest number of secondary schools and primary schools in the country. Go count.
True.
Yes, go count.
True.
In every branch you go, you find about, secondary schools are competing for places to display the billboards.
Next one another.
Yes, next one another. Then Michuki came and said, what can I do different from what Gidayo did, what Kamodo did? What can I do this? No, I'll do electricity and I'll do roads. So today, when I'm going to my village, I can choose from 5 roads, 5, all tarmacked. 5. Why? Because these leaders who are competing to serve the people.
Yes.
Yes, they were competing to serve the people, and they were looking for the difference they can make and improve on the lives of the people.
Actually, Muranga had that unique quality. But
Yes.
you're going, Eric.
Yeah.
What's the
Yeah, what is
for?
that?
Because they were not district leaders.
They
were national leaders.
Yes.
But they knew how.
But they did not even benefit the neighboring Kiambu.
Yes.
Kiambu had their
No. They did. Look here.
Or the neighboring Machakos.
No, they had another agenda. Michuki would not be building roads in Kangema alone. He will also be championing the Michuki laws to bring manners into a public space.
So we should accept that.
So yeah.
Because of Michuki laws.
Michuki laws. When he went to environment,
And the
cleaning
people
of
in Kimana
rivers.
don't have 5 roads that you can access Kimana to go watch.
No,
Eric,
I mean, it's a quality of leadership
No.
you choose.
And the national
What Eric
leader
is
called
saying-
Kamodo was only doing schools there.
Actually,
and the
he
people
did.
who are walking is still walking to date.
Where?
30 kilometers they've got to go to access a secondary school.
That you choose your leadership. Now look at West Pokot. When Ronyangapuo was there, let's move out of
He's
Mount
the
Kenya.
governor.
When Ronyangapuo was there, we were saying, now we began suffering from bad leadership ourselves. And we're saying he was using money for county to build hospitals and schools. Now West Pokot is not that primitive place you used to talk about. Now it has raised a little bit.
But Prof,
Fantastic.
Eric, Prof. Eric's point is
he
a
was a
valid
county
one.
leader.
Pro Eric's point is a valid one because you're more or less admitting that these leaders use national resources to build their backyard.
But that is very recent. This is across generations. The first person.
No. By the way, I am not complaining.
Yes.
Because other places had leaders who could have done similar things for their whichever area they came from. But that argument, for it to be true, you're talking of Kiambu.
Yes.
My friend, you're talking about an era when Kiambu had more ministers than anybody else. So, I mean, if you talk about development, those ministers should have brought that development to that Kiambu.
Do you know now, at this era of one Dr. William Ruto, His Excellency, that Mount Kenya as a region has the largest number of cabinet ministers ever since independence. This era. In Muranga alone, we had 2 cabinet ministers. Forget about Kiambu. Muranga alone, okay, until the reshuffle. when we donated one seat, the treasury to Bandi.
Yes, you. Yes, you had the prof and you had Alice.
Yes, yes.
If you consider chairman of budget as also a minister.
Yes, yes.
Didi Nyoro.
Didi Nyoro. And then you consider Ichungwa, the head of leader of the majority. Oh, under this regime, if ministers were to count, we are doing better than Jomo Kenyatta's era, more than Mwai Kibaki's era.
So this story that the popularity of William Ruto has been reducing in the mountain is a myth.
Well, that's not the argument we're making.
No, that's the argument I'm making. Yes.
If you want to make that, you pay me, and I'll tell you whether it is true or not. I'm a consultant in my other life. Eric, save me from this guy.
Bottom line, Prof.
This brother of mine. Yes.
Bottom line.
Yes.
Okay. Mm. The Kenyan who participated in an election is going to participate again in an election. And in between is expecting services. When the Kenyan is watching, and the drama in Parliament and the Senate is about acquisition of wealth in 2 years' time, when the drama in Parliament is about this Happy Valley kind of stories, what's the Kenyan supposed to do?
I think what we are lacking is something simple. We're lacking education, what they call it civic education. I would call it education in patriotism. Because at the beginning, our founding fathers and founding mothers simply said that we have only 3 enemies. They don't identify a third one. 3 enemies. One is poverty. If a family sleeps hungry, and another one is, the other one is ignorance and disease. So put the economy straight, put education straight, and put health straight. The rest will be added unto you. That's basically was the argument. Now, we need to basically get to that. Housing, all these other things are immaterial. First of all, deal with the 3 enemies of our people. Now, civic education would mean the voter know what to vote. I'll say this and stop. In ancient Greece, there was a competition between the candy seller and the dentist. And the dentist lost square. Because the candy seller said, choose me, elect me, because I'll make your life sweet all through. And this man is going to make your life painful. He'll be plucking your teeth. And the candy seller won. This is the game we have during elections. The candy sellers are always winning and spoiling our teeth.
Professor Peter Kawanja, political analyst. Thank you for today. Thank you for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation, the situation room. Asante sana for all the contributions, for everybody who follows the conversation on Spice FM, on KTN, on YouTube, on Facebook, and X, on TikTok, everywhere. Have a lovely day. See you again.